boy. Oops. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mountain Molehill, a podcast about making something out of nothing. My name is Chase Young.
My name is Penny Parker.
And we're two great friends, and we had a very stupid idea, and we're about to act on it.
We had a very stupid idea with very fulfilling results, I think.
Theoretically, we still don't know. So we're gonna start out by first of all, this week we watched the 13th Year, which is a movie released in 1999 on the Disney Channel. It is a Disney Channel original movie, and the reason we did that is because this podcast is specifically going to be about Disney Channel original movies. Now, it isn't going to be like a review podcast. We're not going to be talking... Well, I mean, I'm sure it'll be review adjacent. We'll say like, oh, I like this movie, or oh, I didn't like this movie, like some fucking...
Yeah, we will be recounting our
Yeah.
opinions of the movie and the events within.
Certainly. But that is not the crux of this particular podcast. As you might glean from the title, Mountain Molehill, this is a podcast about sort of theorizing and theory crafting. I have a background in academic study. I'm an anthropology major in university, and you know what? I know how to write a freaking essay that'll knock your dick off, and I'm super excited about it.
And I have almost watched the entirety of the Gravity Falls DVD box set commentaries. So I think we're about on the same level in terms of like intellectual narrative analysis preparedness here.
You say that as a joke, but honestly, Gravity Falls, that it takes a goddamn degree to crack open that shit. So
the writing and the process behind it is so strong. I've really been enjoying the commentaries for that reason. But yeah, I don't have as much of an academic background, but I'm here. I guess, but there's value in that. I think I have.
Plus, I mean, you're just a smart individual, so that also yeah. Not to blow smoke up your ass or nothing, but regardless. So yeah, we're very excited about this. This is a test pilot episode. If you're listening to this, then obviously something went exactly right the way we wanted it to. For now, though, hey Penny.
Hi.
Would you like to recap the 13th Year with me?
Yes, I would love to. So first of all, I want to mention I have not actually seen this movie in a while. Was this your first time watching it?
It was my first time watching it all the way through. I can definitely like go back in my mind palace and see like, oh, a glimpse of me sitting on a nasty green sofa chair
right.
in my family room when I was like 4 watching it. But
yeah, this was definitely a childhood movie of mine. It was never like a favorite, but I remember it stuck with me in a weird way.
Because it was fucking gross. Because it's gross.
It's pretty gross. It's pretty. We'll get into it. It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
But I definitely saw it play on the Disney Channel. I think as I want to say no, it wasn't. It wasn't as it premiered. It was definitely a rerun because I was a lot older. But
in 1999 you would have been too. So
yeah, exactly. So the fact that I remember it is evidence alone. So yeah, I watched it and I remember my sisters and I were so just enraptured by it. And it's always stuck with me.
It's because it's mermaids.
It's because it's mermaids.
And
yeah,
girls
that's
like
true.
Mermaids. If there's anything I know about, Tonka trucks is for boys, mermaids for girls.
That's true. We were also a very very into Barbie Fairytopia Mermaidia, which sounds like 3 different titles to 3 different projects, but they are the same film.
It sounds like you just pressed random on the fucking Toontown pick your name thing, and you came up with that bullshit.
Barbie Fair. Anyway. But yeah, but I had never watched it a second time, but I've always remembered it.
Isn't it so wacky going back and because like I've been doing that recently. I've been specifically going back and finding media which I indulged in as a child and haven't really thought about in a while. And with this, it's like, wow, yeah, Disney Channel original movies had like a really specific and weirdly oppressive feeling to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of all the
the
shots
word
are so
oppressive
fucking
is so relevant. We'll get into it, but
it's always overcast. The shots are so tight in on the characters. There's never a wide shot. It is just so cramped
even the aspect ratio contributes to that feeling.
Yeah.
Like, of course, Disney Channel movies eventually got into like the 16:9, but this 4:3 is
jarring,
claustrophobic.
Yeah, giving me the freaking willies.
It's pretty gross. I did, and it's funny because this isn't something I wrote down in my notes or anything, but I definitely had that feeling. There would be shots of like the main character Cody, and he's just absorbing the frame. Like he's just there. He's all you see.
And as long as we're talking about 2000isms, which of course, well, I mean, 90. You know how the 90s didn't end until 2005?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So when I say 2000isms, I mean like early 2000isms, which is basically just late 90isms.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, you know how in children's media you can really tell when it's a boys' room when there's just road signs hanging on the wall inexplicably.
Yeah.
What's up with
it's
that?
implied that they stole from somewhere, the little rapscallions.
I never stole a road sign. I stole a traffic cone once, and I had it by my bed.
I did have friends with a road sign in their room. They were boy friends. No, Chase, they weren't boyfriends. Come on.
I didn't say that. You said that.
Jesus Christ, Chase. But did you notice?
Yeah.
Okay, this is gonna. There are two things I want to say here, and they sort of feed into each other because there's something that happens in this movie a lot, and then there's something that I think I noticed in one of the shots of his room, and these two things do not add up.
Okay.
So the first thing I want to mention, they are so, I guess, liberal with the usage of copyrighted names.
Yeah,
and,
okay.
Like,
I
properties.
specifically wrote down dropping Spider-Man and Star Wars references within minutes of each other. That works its way into my theory a little bit. But
I saw that in the little snippet of your notes that you sent me, and I laughed because I wrote down the same thing. I said, I think I wrote, I said they just say Super Bowl in this movie. They got away with so many mentions of copyrighted properties.
It's fucking wild. And the 90s were a different time. And Disney Channel, Disney wasn't like the superpower that it was in 1999. I don't think.
Right.
It was on its way up, definitely, and it was still a powerful corporation. It was not a world superpower yet, you know.
Right. And so this leads me to the second thing I wanted to point out, and I want to know if you noticed this as well, because I don't actually know if I saw it this way. This could just be my eyes playing tricks on me, but I swear I am pretty sure it's the shot where the parents walk into, and we'll recount the plot in a second so all this makes sense, but you just before we do that, it's the shot where Cody's parents walk into his room and he's hanging from the ceiling, and they make like the Spider-Man joke soon after. But there's a shot of the parents and you see the back of Cody's door. There's a poster there. I swear it is blurred out.
Really?
As if they did not want to display some sort of copyrighted poster. I swear, because and I'm pretty sure you see another.
I didn't pause to take notes. I just kept listening while I will say I watched this movie this morning. But I mean, like relatively, I feel like my analysis is still pretty good. But all the same, I didn't exactly. I so desperately, literally, like up until like 20 minutes ago, I wanted to go back and rewatch it one more time just to see what I missed.
Me too. Honestly, I almost did. I only watched it once. I paused maybe like 3 times, but not too often. But I wanted to mention, not only is it weird that they blurred out one poster, like what in the name of God could possibly be on that poster that was not worth the licensing money compared to the Super Bowl and Spider-Man.
I actually know what it was. It was just a whole vagina. So they had
it was just an entire. Well, but that's the weird part, because there's another shot of the door later, and it only shows like half of the poster, and it's not blurred. Damn. And I couldn't get a read on what exactly it was. It was just weird to me because I swear it's blurred in one shot. Maybe I'm remembering wrong.
If I were to guess, it's probably just like a fucking like a Metallica poster or like album cover or some shit like that. But
something weird like that.
I mean, you gotta give it to them. In 1999, I'm sure that actually okay. So I watched it with 2 friends, but then one of them left. My friend Jackson specifically, he said if you do this more, please tell me, because he apparently knows like trivia on the studio behind Disney Channel original movies.
Oh shit!
So I'll definitely be. He'll be a watching partner, regular for me. I think.
That's great.
If this podcast goes somewhere, maybe he'll be on at some point. Who knows? But I digress.
I'm down.
I'm getting ahead of myself. He's the real talent.
We've gotten ahead of ourselves a bit. Do we want to just sort of like start with the basics and recount the plot of the movie?
Yeah, sure. So this movie is about Cody Griffin, and he is a 12-year-old turning 13 in middle school on the swim team, and something wacky happens. Whoa! He was originally...
What is the thing that the poster says? It says
which poster?
It's the one I sent you when I suggested the 13th year. Oh, it says Cody's not just growing up; he's growing fins.
Oh no! Like a mermaid. Why does it tease us so much with, we know he's going to turn into a mermaid. You might as well just get into it.
It's on the poster.
But, okay, so the opening shot is like, we're not going to go play by play, but the opening shot is a mermaid, right? Which kind of just blows it out of the water like right there. Okay, yeah, we established mermaids are real. This is going to be a part of it.
She's carrying a baby.
She's carrying a baby. In a very impressive shot, what I was like, how did they get that baby underwater? But then I was like, it's just a lighting trick. She's carrying a baby. What are you laughing at? What's so funny?
I don't know. I don't actually know. I couldn't tell you.
Funny voices are funny.
Yeah.
But so she gets seen by a man. His name, he was credited in the credits as Big John.
Big John. He's
Big
one
John.
of the first credits.
Yeah. I mean,
which is weird.
He didn't really do a whole lot.
He doesn't have that much screen time. We'll get into it. He's important.
Big John, he sees her, and she, for some reason, decides to abandon the child onto a boat. She goes and runs away, and Big John tries to go follow her and yelling, basically catcalling her, like, "You're beautiful!
You're beautiful!"
And he ends up crashing into an island, and that is the like establishing scene. Fast forward 13 years, people are ridiculing him, like, "Hey, John, you gonna go? You see any more mermaids? You got mermaid bait." And actually, one of the actors was from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That was one thing that I noticed.
Oh yeah. It's that guy.
ACAB. Your turn. Now you go.
Oh, okay. Oh shit. Okay. Well,
there's no structure for this. We're flying by the seat of our pants. But go ahead, Penny.
Yeah. Big John is it passes. He's basically he's a joke in the town. And then we cut to, isn't that where we cut to the swim meet? Wait.
We cut to,
we skipped over something. We skipped over something very important. The boat. The mermaid holding the baby. Is being chased by Big John. And leaves the baby in a boat.
Yeah. I said she just fucking leaves the baby in a boat for some reason.
Yeah, right? and then that baby, as we know, will later grow to be Cody Griffin, and is found by his two parents. And then of course, so then after the time skip, we meet up with them. Cody has grown into an athlete. He is an athlete on his school's swim team. He does swim competitions.
First, however, it is established that his parents own a tour company, specifically a tour boat, yes. like a tour boat / restaurant, I think, called the Tiki 2.
And the customers are apparently rather complainy.
They're rowdy
one
and
lady in
dissatisfied.
particular. Yeah, for sure.
I wrote that down. I don't know why. It didn't come back in my theory. I just wrote down dissatisfied patron and circled it like it mattered.
I wrote down two things. I wrote down Tiki 2. What happened to the first Tiki? And I didn't get to do anything with that, but it was there.
I like that though. I like that note.
And then the second thing I wrote down in regards to the scene is just in quotes, all caps, "For $5, I expect much more." Which is exactly what the lady says.
I mean, in 1999, $5, that's like what, $200 today money? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, like probably 2,000, 2 million, something around there.
Yeah, how much could it? It's a boat ride. How much could it cost? $5?
It's the 90s. How much money was even around? They didn't make that much yet.
You know, something that I found myself repeating a lot during this movie was, "Bro, we are teens," because like it's just like, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll tell you why later on.
It's weirdly difficult to recount the exact like plot by plot beat.
Oh, no,
structure of this movie.
yeah. So okay, after the Tiki 2, he's like, oh shit, I forgot my dang swim meet. And he basically he does a reverse,
right,
it's
because
like,
he's always late.
so he does like a Ferris Bueller where instead of going from the school to home, he goes from home to school. And he misses his ferry, and so he starts swimming, and he swims faster than the ferry, and it's like, whoa, he's a really good swimmer.
Yeah.
He gets to the swim meet. He gets in second place, but that qualifies their swim team to make it to the finals, the state finals, which is great. Good for Cody. Can we get a round of applause for Cody real quick?
Wow, Cody, you
Really-
did it. You really you showed up and you showed out, champ.
Shut up. He almost went swimming in his Timbs, which I thought was kind of fun. He did only get silver, though. I digress. There it is established that his girlfriend, Sam, is also on the swim team. That was her name, right, Sam?
Right. I think so, yeah.
Yes. So
I didn't care much for her. I didn't
she
think to
did
write down her name.
Nothing. She did literally nothing. It's
She's
okay.
very nothing.
But that's great. So they go to finals. And then this one kid, he with a big old sousaphone falls
Named
in. Named Jess. Jess falls into the pool, and he can't swim, so he almost dies. And
Coach says, "Somebody get that kid out of my pool."
And Cody goes, I guess I'll do it if I have to. And then they make fun of him for saving a child's life, which is cool. And so
Bro,
he's like,
teens.
"Bro, we are teens. Save some lives, no problem." I like how the coach of the swim team, which by the way, what fucking middle school has a swim team? Again, I digress.
I think I've known at least one. But
I don't believe you, and you're lying to me on purpose to mislead me.
fair,
But
fair.
So Jess gets saved by Cody. He's like, "Oh, I'm a nerd." He talked a lot about how he was a big fucking nerd and how he deserves to get beat up, which is weird.
Oh, I noticed.
Yeah, I have a feeling. I would be willing to bet.
Believe you me, I noticed.
Yeah, no, I don't know
It comes
why.
into play.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's like, "I'm a big fucking nerd," and then Cody walks away, whatever.
And his tuba separated from a pair of lungs with which to blow on it, blows on itself from the depths of the pool water. Did you notice?
I did notice. I just thought it was
It goes
air trapped. It goes. His sousaphone always is making noise. That shit blows itself. It's like it bumps into a wall and it goes. That doesn't make it. That's not how a sousaphone does. All right.
I gotta use my sousaphone. Okay, the shit don't blow itself.
Don't mind those. My name is Jess. I'm very smart. Bully me. What was the next shot? Was like they were in class or some shit. We can't do scene by scene.
We really can't. Essentially,
we can.
We can, but it's just we're gonna get so sidetracked if we don't just kind of stay basic right now. So, what's the next thing we have to know? That he gets paired with Jess for a project?
Yeah, he gets paired with Jess for a marine biology project, which Jess is really into. He's into marine biology. Offhandedly, Cody mentions that his birthday's coming up, his 13th birthday, the 13th year. Oh boy.
Yes.
And he's like, "Hey, you can come by if you really want to." Jess stops by. He gets bullied when he's there, and then he's like, "Well, that fucking sucks," and he leaves, which never gets brought up again. Like,
in a very sad moment happens where his mom walks up to Jess because Jess,
Cody's mom,
right? Yeah, Cody's mom walks up to Jess. Jess rides into the party on his bicycle, carrying a gift for Cody because Cody fucking invited him.
Yeah.
And Cody's like, I didn't actually expect him to come. And then his mom's like, "Hey, are you a friend of Cody's?" And then Jess turns around, sees them all laughing at him, and he says, "No."
Oh, that fucking.
And still gives her the present for him.
It was specifically Sean. It was specifically Sean who was laughing at him. Sean is the rival swimmer who got when in the swim meet in one of the first scenes. It was Sean who got first place while Cody got second. Which is a sort of rivalry, which is like a C plot. It's not even a B plot. So you know he that ends up being 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the book. In case you didn't know what that was, in case you thought it was a movie or something. I don't know. You're probably like 16 if you're listening to my podcast.
Movie.
Yeah. Fucking. Also, I just said my podcast like it's mine. My podcast.
It was. You did introduce the idea to me, but
we developed it together though.
Irrelevant.
irrelevant. So he's like super cool, awesome. I got this cool, and Sam, you know what? You know what every 13-year-old wants for their birthday? A framed picture of their girlfriend, because they understand. They understand the intricacies and complexities of sentimentality.
Yes,
Right.
they wouldn't just want like a Game Boy or something.
You know what I got for my 13th birthday? I got Yoshi Topsy Turvy. And I love
Hell
that shit.
yes.
If my mom gave me a framed picture of me and her hugging, I would throw it in her face. I would be so fucking disgusted. If somebody gave me a framed picture, I would angrily say, "Bro, I am teenager. Give me Game Boy."
Mom, what the hell is this? Do
Mom,
you
what the
know?
fuck
Do
is
you know
this?
what kind of pressure is on me right now to come to school tomorrow with the new Pokemon? What
Do
the
you know-
fuck is wrong with you?
Jacqueline, I had a problem coming up with child name. Jacqueline, she just got Mew. She's leagues ahead of me, Mom. If I
Right.
don't show up with at least a Bulbasaur tomorrow, they're gonna kick my ass. They're gonna kick my ass. All right?
They're gonna kick my ass.
They're gonna shove me in a
What?
locker and give me a swirly. All right, in the locker.
The specificity of a 13-year-old kid pleading with his mom to get a Pokemon because the other kids will quote kick my ass is really funny.
What if
When I was 13, I got Spore Galactic Adventure as a present.
Hey, nice. That was a good year. Probably. I don't know. I was a child. I don't
I
remember
actually-
world politics at that point.
Me neither. Anyway, so the birthday happens. Gets his silly little presents.
Sam and Cody kiss, like they do a little smack, like on the right on the mouth,
Yeah.
and there's a little jolt, like a you know,
Right.
like a
Right.
how electricity
it's
sounds.
a little flash that also happens at the beginning of the movie as the title comes on screen. I was not able to make anything of this, but I didn't note it because when the title comes on screen, there's a little ching, and then that same ching happens when they kiss.
I've got notes on the electricity. I know what that's all about.
Oh, me too.
All right. Let's see what happens after that.
So fucking excited. We gotta speed through this recap shit. He goes. Don't they then go to the beach to start working on their project? And Jess
Okay, so
starts talking about.
Cody meets Jess at the tide pools. Yes.
Yeah, Jess starts talking about marine biology. You know, they're working together on this project, and Jess is like, I know a lot about this shit.
Another drop of a trademarked property, Dungeons and Dragons, was mentioned there.
Yeah. So then, you know, they sort of establish this growing camaraderie between the two, where Cody starts to he essentially has like a community I see or value now moment where they kind of agree, because Jess also can't swim, you know, as established earlier when he falls into the pool. They're like, okay, you help me, you know, you carry the weight of this project and I'll teach you how to swim. That's their exchange.
Another weird B plot, but
yeah.
After that, I believe after that, that's when the first mutation happens, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because they're at the beach. They're like looking through pools for like different fish and shells and stuff. And Cody pulls his hands up and Jess like notices it like in a snap. Like he has the best sort of like reaction time I've ever seen out of a nerd character, because Cody pulls his hands out. You see like half a second glimpse of scales on his hands. His hands have like weird, gross green scales, and Jess instantly is like, "Oh my god, I've never seen anything like that! Wow, what is that? I've never seen that before." And
I mean, to be fair, that's a pretty realistic reaction time. Like, hey, what the fuck is going on with your hand, bro?
It's so quick though.
And by the way, this is at this point, I would like to say the scale hand is fucking disgusting. It's so gross. It is nasty.
Everything about like the mid metamorphosis of his transformation is extremely disgusting.
Yeah. Like
when he grows like the fins on the side of his arms, it's fucking horrifying.
I always imagine that's just like big, like long, calloused skin.
Yeah.
And the scales just look like little like fucking holes all over his hand. It triggers my trypophobia. I hate that shit. Anyway,
they kind of go through the rigmarole of like, you know, you see them sort of developing a friendship, trying to study what is going on with Cody's body, and then as they're working on this project and also sort of investigating what's going on with Cody, his symptoms start getting worse and worse. Like he starts
his parents
sticking
pick up
on
on
the
it.
ceiling. Yeah, his parents pick up on it.
Which, by the way, they first of all, his mom is anti-vax, so that's cool.
Yes. I was gonna say Cody is like, I need somebody to help me because something weird is happening, and I think the dad recommends like
Dave Coulier. Dave Coulier, the father.
Dave Coulier, yeah. What isn't he from Full House?
He is Uncle Joey from Full House, yes.
Yes. So Uncle Joey is like, all right, well, we can recommend you a doctor, and then the mom is like, did you just say the D word? Like she's vehemently anti-doctor.
When she said, because I was writing something down. When she said, "Did you just see the D word?" I was like, "Did they say a slur? What the fuck happened?" I was really confused and kind of scared.
Yeah, it's
but
a little
yeah.
vague.
So she's like, she's very holistic. She's like, oh, nothing that fucking spices can't cure or whatever. But they find him stuck on the ceiling. They say, okay, we're gonna call a doctor. Well, no, that doesn't happen immediately. First, they're just like, it's probably nothing. Later on, it's a later scene where they find him on the ceiling and they call the doctor, because that's when the mom is just like, oh yeah, okay, call the doctor.
Well, that's because earlier it's established, like, so initially this movie is so fucking weird and inconsistent, because initially when the mom goes crazy about suggesting a doctor, it's because it's framed like she is very anti like medicine, anti-pharmaceutical medicine.
Yeah, she's very like holistic. She's like essential oils.
Yeah. So she just thinks it's not a big deal and nothing that could be solved with that kind of like natural remedy. Whereas then you see a scene later and Cody is spying on his parents, and they are talking as if they know this is fucked up, and they just don't want him to be like experimented on and like taken by the government or something.
Right, yeah.
They're very aware that this is something bigger than they made it out to be, but they're just keeping it from him.
By the way, that's literally never happened. When like even like the for example, the Elephant Man, he wasn't taken to some government facility and studied. It was just like, okay, yeah, no, this is just a mutation because human bodies do that.
Yeah. You just got something going on.
Yeah. Anyway, I long story short, as a child, the things that I first of all, I thought I was going to be lit on fire so much because of all the stop, drop, and roll. Second of all, I thought quicksand was going to be a much bigger problem for me.
Yeah, quicksand, catching on fire.
And being abducted by the government in case
being struck by lightning was also a big one for me.
That's a big one. Yeah, no, absolutely. And being abducted by the government in case I develop superpowers. So I'm glad that that didn't happen, I guess. Right. Well, no, I'm still pretty ornery about the fact that I didn't get superpowers, but you know.
I mean, Chase, there's still time, you know.
No, there isn't. It's terminal. So after that,
there's another swim meet. The guy says this is the Super Bowl of swim competition, which is hilarious.
Yeah, it's a really fucking weird thing to say, especially because it's middle
Isn't there like
schoolers.
swimming Olympics? Isn't like you can't think like a higher tier sport than the Super Bowl.
This is the Super Bowl of specifically Nova Scotia based middle schoolers. Because
this is the Super Bowl of specifically swimming team from S. Johnson Middle School in Nova Scotia.
It was Nova Scotia. They were like, oh, it takes place in the United States. It didn't. The filming took place in Nova Scotia in Canada.
Yeah.
Mahone Middle School. I think they were trying to go for like a Hawaiian thing, but that didn't really work out.
It really doesn't have any sort of aesthetic personality.
No, it was just Dogtown.
It's an extreme. It's honestly kind of gross. It's funny that they're going for like this sort of like this like tropical like Atlantis kind of feel, maybe. You know, they're going for like this like beautiful water aesthetic, but the town,
the way they render it is
gross.
Like it's like the town the way the town is rendered is like the towns that you drive through and you don't think about when you're on a road trip.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a slimy
town.
The sky is always like overcast. I don't think there's ever like a blue sky in this movie.
In the very end, I think they green screen in a blue sky. For when he jumps out of the spoiler alert, he turns into a mermaid. And he jumps out of the water.
What the fuck, Chase?
I'm sorry. Look,
I didn't get to that point.
It's not even the 13th year. It's the 21st year after this fucking movie came out. We need to.
My 13th year. Did you listen to the credits song?
I did not.
Things
I did
are
not.
getting weird in my 13th year.
I did not, but now I wish that I had.
It's
I'll have to do that later on.
The credits go by really quickly. It's a short song because not a lot of people worked on this movie, and that's entirely irrelevant.
Yeah, but also completely expected because it's
right.
It's a decom. Regardless,
an old decom too.
It's let's see, where were we?
So there's another swim meet, and throughout the movie, there's this growing anxiety about the fact that Cody's symptoms of becoming a mermaid become worse every time he comes in contact with the water. Yeah. So like Jess and his parents in particular are very anti-swimming for Cody ever since this starts. They're very much like, you need to stop, like just stop swimming. And he's like, but I have a responsibility to my school.
Yeah, and he's like drinking more water. His hands are getting sticky, and like
yeah, we didn't establish that. He starts getting really thirsty.
Yeah, very, very, very thirsty. He starts drinking a lot of water.
There's a joke scene where he's at the water fountain and it starts as like a panning shot in the school hallway, and there's like a line of kids, and it starts going through the line, and you're wondering, like, are they like looking at like test results on the wall or something? Like, what's going on? And you see it's Cody at the water fountain. He's been there for like 10 minutes, and there's just this line of kids.
He becomes a thirsty little flower, and he has to sate his thirst anyway. There's like a lot of shots of him like drinking out of like a gallon of water, drinking a big old. Another thing, he's drinking specifically out of a Fiji water like a half gallon or like a gallon. A Fiji water at one point.
Really?
Did you see that? Yeah.
I didn't know.
Oh yeah, well there you go. Actually, I think it was probably a liter, not a gallon, but I digress. So at the swim meet, he's like, okay, so I've got a responsibility to my school. He makes it there, and he swims, and he does really well because he's a mermaid. And
I not to interrupt. I'm so sorry. I think it's important to establish. I think at this point. This is so confusing. I'm so sorry. We'll get better at this.
It's okay. Go for it though.
A lot of the scenes kind of blur together. They cover a lot of the same ground.
Yeah.
Anyway, I believe at this point, in the second swim meet, at this point they have established the theory that Cody is becoming a mermaid or a merman.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yes, they explicitly say.
Because then they have another scene with the doctor, and the doctor says it's puberty, and Cody's like, "That's bullshit."
Yeah, obviously it's not fucking puberty. They at this point, he and Jess, and I think their parents. Yeah, I think his parents know that they specifically know about the whole merman thing. They've established that. There's one gross scene where they pluck a scale off of him, which is nasty.
Oh yeah, and they compare it to a fish, and they're like, they look exactly the same.
Yeah. So, at
and
this
then
point,
Jess goes to his dad's like study. There's like a gross shed with like a bunch of like old like mermaid conspiracy.
You say gross, I say fucking
keeps.
neato. It's like
it's pretty neat.
It's stuff that he like fishes up and keeps. Like there's a drugstore Indian, and there's like he's got like a bunch of old pictures, and he found an antique radio.
I think I just don't like the image of old sheds. I think that just is off-putting to me.
That's completely reasonable. But yeah. So his dad is like super. If you Big John specifically, Jess's father, is very, very into mermaids because the mermaid that he saw, which was of course Cody's mom, 13 years ago. Yes. And
13 years before the 13th year. And so Jess is like, hey, do you believe in mermaids? It's weird, right? Because there's this impression that the dad is trying to like save face a little bit, but then very quickly he's just like, no, mermaids exist, they're real.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like he's pretty convinced, which is weird after 13 years. First of all, you'd think that sort of like mockery going around town would have died down, or like he would have like at least been in on the joke, or he would have started doubting himself and being like,
people act like it happened last month.
Yeah, specifically in like the shot after it happens, which it explicitly says 13 years later, and then people are still making fun of him for it, which is
they're like, hey, I got Bigfoot back in my house, and it's like, okay,
I got Bigfoot sucking off Elvis, which by the way, they say specifically, I've got Bigfoot, the Easter Bunny, I think they say the Tooth Fairy and Elvis.
I think the Tooth Fairy, yeah,
which
Elvis.
Which implies that Elvis is either not real or that all the other things were real and they just happened to die also.
That's a lot more than this is above my pay grade.
This is, that does not factor into my theory either. I just think it's sort of a silly implication. So yeah, the dad, he's kind of set up as like there isn't really a set antagonist in this movie.
If there is an antagonist, he is the closest thing. Well, there is also Sean, but Sean doesn't really get a resolution.
No, yeah, Sean definitely super doesn't get a resolution. It's more just this isn't a person versus person. This is weirdly enough a person versus society type of narrative.
Yeah, there's no singular antagonist. And
it's
there's
rather
not
just
a lot
difficult situation.
There are no real like climactic encounters. I mean, there's one, but it's still
you
a
could
little
tell,
iffy.
You could tell when like Act 2 ended and Act 3 began.
Yes.
But like it was never like, oh, this thing that's been leading up. Like even like the swim meet, like they don't talk about it until like when it actually, they talk about the swim meet after the first swim meet and when they qualified for finals, and then they talked about it like after a scene where it's like you're a merman, and then he's like, well, you gotta go to the swim finals, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Because they just don't talk about it. All the while he's been very dismissive and secretive around his girlfriend Sam.
Right.
13-year-olds shouldn't have.
I know.
Others,
yeah.
but
No.
anyway.
I'm there with you. I did, and it sucked for like. I mean, I don't count it because I was a kid, but like
right.
I was a horrible person. So
nice. Same. Let's high five. Thanks.
So I'm gonna. So this swim meet finals comes. It's near the end of the movie. It's the swim meet finals. State finals. And at this swim meet, a lot of disparate plot lines kind of pool together. No pun intended. The Jess is there, and Cody has still been teaching Jess to swim. And Cody has been being distanced from his previous friend group, specifically Sean, because he's spending so much time with Jess and helping him out. There's a scene earlier where Sean and Sam, Sam and him have like a fight because Cody's trying to like hide the fact that he's turning into an actual literal mermaid and is growing fins on his hands.
Right, which might be a little bit repulsive. It would be repulsive to me.
Right. So Cody's growing distance from his friends, including Sean. Sean is out to get him because he's spending a lot of time with Jess and he wants to win the competition. Jess is there just kind of as moral support, and also because he's been warning Cody, and I guess he's keeping an eye out just in case something iffy happens. Jess's dad, Big John, is there.
Yes.
With binoculars.
With binoculars, yes. Not what's that thing that's like magnifying glass but two? Binoculars.
Yeah, binoculars. I thought you were talking about a what's it called? The thing that I think it was like Ben Franklin had. The monoglass.
I don't know. I'm fucking stupid, but go ahead and continue.
Me too.
Nice.
So Big John's there, Jess is there, Sean is there, Cody's swimming. What else is there? The parents are back at home, and they think that he's chilling out because they also told him not to swim.
Yeah. But also, Jess like convinces him not to swim, but then he just swims anyway. What was it that convinced him to swim? Do you remember? Because I think
no. It was kind of like it was a misdirection. It was sort of, it's played off as a joke a little bit. He didn't actually convince him not to swim. He kind of tricks Jess. He's a little shitty like that. He eventually is like
shit, kind of a little bit.
He's like okay. He's like I have to be here. I have to win. Like I have to beat Sean. I gotta make sure that I do this. And Jess is like, if you turn into a fish in the middle of this race, like you're gonna die. Like they'll kill you. And Cody is like, oh yeah, you're right. I won't swim starting tomorrow, and then walks away.
Wink.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Okay, that makes sense. So he swims and he does really well because he's a fish. And
he breaks a record.
He breaks the state record, yeah. And he ends up getting found out by Big John, and
because he wins, and he's doing like a victory pose with his arms in the air for like an extended amount of time, like more than anyone should, even in a normal scenario.
Yeah, it's like a full minute and a half.
Yeah, these glaring fins, and Sean sees it, and Big John sees it.
Yes, with his binoculars. And so he's like, oh shit, I gotta get the heck out of here. And he's like, Sean's like, what the fuck, I'm 13. And then Cody puts on his jacket and leaves. And Jess tries to distract Big John, but Jess is like, what are you doing here? And Big John's just like, you got one hell of a swimmer of a friend there, buckaroo. And so it's sort of established that both Sean Sean follows Cody into the locker room and says, "I know you cheated. I'm gonna find out what you did, loser. You look, I should have won the gold."
Also, this is irrelevant, but in order to distract from, because Cody notices that he's showing his fins, and so to distract everyone from seeing his fins, he electrocutes the scoreboard from the pool.
Yeah, he did. He put his hands on a metal beam, which, by the way, he has electricity powers. He put his hands
right.
on a metal beam in the
which
pool,
is submerged underwater.
Yeah, I literally said to my friend Nifty while we were watching, I was like, "That's a fucking electricity hazard. There's no goddamn way."
I wrote these words exactly about this scenario. Okay, no. They should be dead after his electric water stunt. What the fuck? They're all dead.
What if he actually just killed? Like it was like the ending of Carrie, where he just fucking kills everybody in the he kills everybody in the stadium. The
rest of the movie
area?
happens in like a shadow dimension.
Yeah, Jesus. Anyway, yeah, he didn't kill anybody.
Irrelevant.
Luckily. But yeah, that's our other podcast, Director's Cut, where we talk about what should have happened in movies.
Yes.
Anyway.
But yes, Sean follows him into the locker room.
And he's stick to the ceiling. Sean doesn't find him, yada, yada, yada. His parents drive up, and they're like, "What the fuck?" And then they go home. Next day, they go back to school. Sean comes up, and he's like, "Hey, you fucking bitch." And then he slaps him. Or no, he doesn't slap him, he just shoves him. And no. And specifically the night of, sorry, I completely glossed over this. The night of, Sam comes to his house. Sam, the girlfriend, comes to his house, and she's like, "What's going on? We've been really dicey lately." And he's like, "I'm a merman." Or no, he's like, "Well, it's complicated." And Jess says, "Well, he's a merman." And she's like, "You're a mermaid?" And then Jess and then Cody's parents say merman. And it's funny. Yeah. Also, there's one scene in the movie I just completely forgot, and I wanted to mention it because it was the one time the movie got a genuine laugh out of me, which was near the beginning of the movie where Cody is he's looking at his hands after his hands turn for the first time, and his mom starts looking at his hands, and then Dave Coulier walks in and he sees both of them looking at their hands, and he just starts looking at his hands, and it's a lot funnier if you see it, but it's that was genuinely a good one.
It becomes funny until Uncle Joey says, "Am I the only sane one in this house?" He wasn't also doing it.
It's a very 90s thing to say.
Right.
There's also another 90ism, which is also a 2000ism. We've already talked about this. I think I'm pretty sure at the beginning of the movie somebody says "Oh, I'm definitely going to do that." Not.
Right.
I forgot
Cody
that was
yeah.
I forgot that was a thing that people say.
Yeah.
It's weird to think that guy, the guy who played Cody, is 13 years older than me. He's now 35 years old.
That is so weird. I don't like that.
Yeah, because I only know him as Cody from the 13th Year.
Right, Cody Griffin, 13-year-old.
Hey, babe, I'm Cody Griffin. Remember me from the 13th Year? I grew gross hands. So
Sam. So essentially, because of the Sam faints and then wakes up, and they essentially they tell Sam that Cody's turning into a mermaid, and she's mad about it
for some reason because the story needs conflict.
Yeah, and then the swim meet happens, and then Sean and Cody have
no. That happens after this. That happens the night after the swim meet, where she goes.
Right. Yeah, because he comes home and everybody's like looking over him because his hands are fucked.
Yeah, and she's like, "What the fuck happened?" And then she's like, "Okay, that's weird. I'm not going to tell anybody, but I'm not going to be your girlfriend anymore." And they leave. Okay, so after that, Sean bullies him. That gets broken up. This is sort of where I was finalizing my theory, and so I checked out a little bit. So I don't remember the play-by-play up after this point. So all this time, Cody's been having dreams, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the day after the swim meet, or in the day of the night of Sean's bullying, he goes to the Cove, which is this sort of like a sort of bay area, sort of a archipelago that leads out with a lighthouse on it, and then there's a cove area. And there's a buoy. There's a big old buoy out there with the number 8. And he which that's a secret tool that we'll use later. And it's so he goes swimming because in his dreams he remembers specifically swimming, and he dives in and he sees a light, And then he sees he doesn't know, but his mother, which is a mermaid, swim up to him. Which, by the way, she just never left, which is weird. Or maybe it was like a salmon. Maybe it was like a salmon thing where she like laid her child down in like a specific spawning area, and then she left, and then 13 years later she came back.
Yeah, she put the Halo spawn point there.
She put down a Minecraft bed. Yeah,
this mermaid mom is probably one of the scariest things about this movie, because
she's just a fucking wild animal.
I could never get a read on what she was thinking or wanting.
She doesn't talk.
She doesn't
talk
have a single
gesture.
line. She doesn't make a noise. When Cody is first taken by the parents, she almost looks happy.
Yeah, no, that's why I think it might have been intentional. Like it's like, I'm gonna leave my siren child alone to be raised with these people so that I don't have to do it. That's why I think it's like a salmon thing.
Right.
Anyway, no, she doesn't.
She spends a lot of time in this like offshore bay area, like whatever.
She emotes about as much as a grizzly bear, which is like you can kind of see when it's like upset, but like it's definitely not human.
Yeah. She is literally an animal.
Yeah, no, she's 100% a wild animal. She doesn't talk because I think she can't speak.
And they establish she can communicate her intentions telepathically, but she does not speak.
Yeah, it's fucked up and scary.
She does not communicate concepts, really.
Mm-hmm. So the next day, after he sees, he sees her, but then Big John comes by and he sees both of them, and he's like, "Oh boy, mermaids!" And that's fine. And Cody goes home, and the mermaid swims away. The next day, Cody calls up Sam, and he's like, "Hey, I need your help. Meet me at the cove tonight." And they go to the cove, and he's like, I want to show you something." And he shows her his mermaid mom, and I don't remember what that leads to, but they do that, and then a fucked up thing happens, which is that Big John just straight up kidnaps Cody. Yeah, no, he just straight up like fucking takes Cody.
Yeah. And this is I mentioned earlier that there's no real like climactic encounter in the movie, and then I mended by saying there's kind of one, and this is that, because Big John just straight up kidnaps Cody.
Absolutely.
And before this happens, Cody starts to get like cramps. He seems
because he's out of water for too
pain.
long.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so and not only that, but his feet start turning into fins. Like it's not one big tail yet, but his 2 feet turn into two, like the two halves of a mermaid tail. It's fucking disgusting.
Oh yeah, it's nasty. It's like literally like for 2/3 of the movie he spends in the midpoint of an Animorphs transformation.
Like imagine the like 5 stages of an Animorph transportation between a normal pair of human legs and a mermaid tail. What Cody has in this scene is right smack in the middle of that transformation.
It's disgusting and not.
It's so gross.
So he kidnaps Cody.
Yeah, he kidnaps Cody, and he kidnaps Cody in an attempt to kidnap the mom because he wants to prove that mermaids are real and that he's not crazy.
Yeah.
And Cody needs to get into the water because he's like dying. Like he is in so much pain and his feet are turning into fins. And this is where when he expresses a need to get back into the water, I wrote this down because I had a thought. And this is not related to anything, any of our later analysis. I just wanted to express this because it's how I feel. It's my truth, Chase.
Okay.
I
respect your truth.
I wrote, dude, I would hate to become a fucking fish. Like, could you imagine living all your life with access to, like, technology and modern convenience, and then you have to just fuck off into the shitty, smelly ocean when you turn 13?
Yeah, no, that would fucking blow. That would blow chunks.
We'll
explain how it's worse
access to like your PS2 and satellite television, and you just
would have
can't
PS1 because
anymore.
this was 1999. But
right.
The cool thing is, it gets worse at the end of the movie.
Much worse.
But so the mermaid is following Big John's boat around, and Big John uses a big net. That's Big John's trademark, big net trademark. And he catches the mer lady, the mer mom.
They actually sold that as merch at Target. It was like a tie-in.
Yeah, it was at E3 2001.
Big John's Big Net.
Big John's Big Net from the 13th Year sold one. So, but then Jess like has like a come to Jesus moment, and he's like, okay, well, I'll save you, and he jumps in with like a Bowie knife, and he goes down and he cuts open the net and saves the mermom, and then
he almost drowns.
And then he almost drowns because of the net like catches his leg.
And
which,
this is so important. I want to make sure.
Uh-huh.
We know that Jess through the whole movie has
Uh-huh.
been learning to swim and has been scared of the water, and then when in his final moment of character development where he jumps into the water and on his own free will braves the ocean and says, I will swim to save this life, he almost dies as a result. That'll come back later.
Yeah, okay. And so he gets caught on the net that falls down, and so that's when Cody goes in and saves him. And the way that resolves itself is, and this happens in the final 10 minutes of the movie, by the way. And so that way that resolves itself,
when it ramps up fast.
Yeah, no, it's very much like a what's the thing where it's like a curve in geography or whatever, not geography, geometry, and just like it's like it's
I know what you're talking about. I couldn't
exponentiality.
Yeah.
It's like an exponential curve where it's like starts really, really slow, and then it gets a little faster and a little faster and a little faster, and then the last 20 minutes everything happens.
By the end of it, you're leaping miles in a matter of seconds.
Yeah. Anyway, the way that resolves itself is Big John he sees Cody save Jess, and Jess is like, sorry, Dad, and he's just like, I'm fine. I mean, I'm just glad you didn't die. Which kind of just cements to me that this wasn't as big of a deal for everybody else as it was for Big John, who was just like, oh, this is just an opportunity for me to like prove people that I'm like not crazy.
Right.
And when his child was threatened, or when his child was in danger, he was just like, oh shit, holy fuck, oh no.
I did not intend for this. I didn't account for this.
Yeah, and so at the very end, that's just sort of like solved, and he's like, "Yeah, okay. I mean, I know now, so I guess." Yeah,
they don't ever really reconcile what he just attempted to do. He tried to kidnap Cody's mom.
He didn't
and
apologize.
Also kidnapped Cody,
and also kidnapped Cody, which is not a wild animal like Cody's mom. Yeah. So he's just like, "Yes, my bad, my B, bro. Sorry."
He doesn't even say my bad.
Yeah,
they just kind of are just like, "Oh, Big John."
Yeah. But then, so Jess is out of the water, but he's like unconscious, and Cody uses his electricity to like, like clear,
right.
What's that called? Defibrillate him.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'm fine now, and that's all great. And then, in the final moments of the movie, the mermom comes up and telepathically communicates to both Cody and Cody's mom that Cody needs to go with her.
Yeah,
and
that's just decided. Like he just has to go. He has no.
He's just like, yeah.
He is becoming a fish. He is becoming a mermaid. He needs to go into the water.
And at that point it's just like not even an option. And the mom is just like, she says specifically she'll have him back by the time school starts again. Which, how do you know that? She is a fucking animal.
And we do not actually see that happen. Mm-mm. The movie ends when Cody leaves.
Yeah, and Cody leaves, and
there's the mom is taking this harder than anybody. She is like actively like sobbing about her son going to live in the ocean with this actual fucking animal. Who telepathically communicates to her that she loves him, that she loves Cody. You haven't known this kid for 13 years.
Yeah, no, and it's, oh god. And then the movie just ends with Cody being like, all right, I have to go to the ocean now.
Yeah,
and then,
peace.
And that fucking blindsided me, because usually it would be like, oh, his mom would be like, oh, I recognize that your place is with the humans that I left you with, and it's okay. And then he would be like, all right, Mom, I'll always love you, or whatever, some shit. And then
she does like a mermaid magic, and then his legs turn back to normal.
Yeah, and then, but then no, he just goes with her, and that's the end of the movie.
Which is, I swear to you, it's so relevant. I'm so excited. We're about to the point where we're going to start talking about this shit.
We're about an hour in, and we're about to start theory crafting.
I was literally shocked at how this movie plays out.
Yeah, no,
it is unlike anything you expect.
Yeah, no, it is weirdly subversive for what it is. Yeah. Or not, yeah, subversive the right word? Yeah, no. Okay.
Yeah, it is subversive without ever being interesting. which
which is the
a
fucked up
feat
part.
in and of itself.
It really goes to show that, like, because like these movies don't come out of a factory. These aren't like Hallmark Christmas movies where it's just like, oh, big city lady goes meets a friendly countryman and they do Christmas and she's like, I don't like Christmas, and then in the movie she's like, I like Christmas and I like family, and because like that shit is like pumped out every single year. It's basically the same thing all the time. Disney Channel original movies were made by humans. They weren't made by particularly talented humans, but they were made by humans with human touches, and it manifests in such an interesting way because through the cardboard cutout, plots and like stereotypes and things like that, like literally Jess on like 5 to 7 different occasions says something along the lines of, I am a nerd, I'm a dork, I'm a dweeb, nobody cares about me, beat me up, shove me in a locker, fucking I'm an outcast. Right. Which is so weird. That is so weird to me.
And I think the way we should structure this show is that we go to a break real quick. We'll break, and then come back and then we'll dive into it. But before, yes, this is the theme of the entire show, is that these movies are made by humans with human beliefs and human intention, and whether through their own intention or not, their ideas, their politics, their philosophies will shine through what they write. Inevitably.
Whether they want it to or not.
Everything is political if it comes from a human. Everything has thematic relevance or like theological relevance if it comes from someone who believes anything.
You know something political? There was one black person in this movie. There was a singular, and it was a principal.
I was gonna say, here's the problem: is that I can't even remember who that was.
it was the principal, or maybe just a teacher that breaks up the fight between Sean and Cody after the swim meet. And that was it. It's
anyway. Disney in the 90s, 2000s.
Okay,
like that.
Let's go. Let's go to break with our sponsor that we already have.
Right.
And I'm gonna use this break time to pee real quick.
Yeah, cool. Me too.
Of course we don't actually have a sponsor. We haven't even released the first episode yet. Hi, my name is Chase. I'd like to take this time to thank Graham Cartana for the usage of his songs, both An Obsession with Kit as well as Subtext. An Obsession with Kit is the intro and outro. Subtext is the mid-roll. And I'm also going to go ahead and plug our what do you call them when you're on there on websites? Social media. You can find me at clown_depot on Twitch and Twitter, and you can find Penny at SnapCube, or SnapScube rather, SNAPSCUBE on Twitch and Twitter, and also SnapCube with no plural snaps on we call it YouTube. We do a lot of collaborations. It's a whole lot of fun. And that's pretty much it, baby. I got nothing else to say. I hope this was long enough for you. And if it wasn't, you know what? Here's a short story from me to you. Once upon a time, there was a little guy, and he was 4 feet tall, but he was still having a good time with it. One time he got trapped in a hole with his friends, and they were both 7 feet. And his friends were like, "How are we gonna get out of this hole?" And he's like, "Well, let me look at this vent in the wall. I can get through there because I'm 4 feet." And so he crawled through, and he was like, "Well, you know what? Maybe it ain't so bad being short." Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Let's get back to the show. Bye-bye. Hi, Penny. Welcome back.
Hi, welcome back.
All right, so do you want to start or should I start?
So we have to figure out how we're going to do this because I have not shown you any of what I determined from the content of this movie. You showed me a snippet and have kind of teased at me a little bit of like what angle you're playing at. And I say this not to be self-focused. I think I should go first because my analysis of the movie is a little bit less grand in a sense. It's definitely I essentially
Go for it. You don't have to explain it. Just go for it.
Yeah, I noticed. Oh man, now that we're here, I'm not only so excited. I don't even know where to fucking begin because I said this to you and you agreed with me that this movie, from the get-go, establishes information that it only ever reinforces as the movie goes on. And we've touched on a couple of these things, and I guess I will open up. I will give you a little bit of a sort of like cold open style teaser of what I'm gonna get at here.
Okay.
With five words that circle around the same subject, 5 philosophies that I had discovered within the makeup of this movie, within the core philosophy of the way this movie is written, and I will recount these.
You are teasing me so fucking hard.
I will recount these to you right now.
Go for it.
I want you. Fatalism,
my ears are open.
Fatalism, defeatism, determinism, theological determinism, predeterminism. What do these mean to you?
Okay. What was the first one?
Fatalism.
Okay, so these all seem to have a similar theme. If I were to sort of sum up the broad overlapping idea of all these, it is that there is a set path which each of us take, no matter what. We cannot escape it. We cannot change it. Instead, we must embrace the fact that the paths that we take as human beings are decided not by us, but rather by the cosmos, by some sort of theological entity, by some grander scheme, and that it's all just a big plot that we have no control over.
Yes. And I bring all of these because these terms in and of themselves mean kind of different things. And like I said, they circle around the same idea, and you described it perfectly. This movie exists within a version of reality that adheres very strictly to the idea that we not only have set roles in society, we have set roles in the universe, we have set paths for our lives that we are not intended to break away from. And if we do, we will be cosmically punished.
I am starting, the gears in my head are starting to, hang on, I'm actually like moving my notes around. I am beginning to go back through the imagery of the movie, and I can already see there is already like 3 or 4 different characters that follow this exact line.
There is one character in particular that I swear, like, you know, we're gonna talk about all this stuff as if it's intentional because, like, that's the point of the show. But if I did not know any better, I would swear one character and his relation to the theme in particular is so fucking pointedly about this that it's almost hilarious. We'll get to it. So right off the bat,
I think I know.
Yeah. So I my notes are a little bit unorganized. So I'm gonna do my best to sort of recount this. I'm gonna go through my notes in chronological order because that's how I wrote them. I wrote them sort of bullet point style. And I'll just sort of run you through because it's so weird. So I wrote these two. I told you like 10 notes into my list. I started writing in paragraphs because this theme just slapped me in the face. It hit me like a train.
No. I completely hear you.
So
but
I wrote these 2 things. Yeah, no, I wrote these 2 things. This is very early into the movie. So I say, right off the bat, there is an inherent sense of inevitability of purpose and role for the characters in this universe. The parents make reference of wanting to escape the confines of of bourgeois capitalism, only to find themselves at the head of a tourism business, their customers complaining about their rates compared to the quality of the service they provide. Another example is Cody, despite growing up entirely separated from his mermaid community, still finds himself living a life entirely revolving around his relationship to water.
Fuck.
He is a swim athlete.
He is a swim boy.
He exists within the confines of water. Speaking of confines, when we get to the swim tournament, I say it is an interesting visual metaphor because these contestants swim ahead, supposedly covering ground and racing to be ahead of the curve. What could be more empowering than taking the lead? To an outsider, of course, this perceived advantage is folly. They may be a leader in relation to one another. They may have advantage in comparison to their competitors, but ultimately, they all swim within the same system.
They're all in the same lanes.
What is seen as progression within the boundaries of the pool is merely a reversal in the grander scheme. They aren't even allowed to cross lanes. Their paths towards victory are inherently isolating. They are no more allowed to leave the confines of the pool than the characters themselves are allowed to leave the confines of their predestined paths.
Fuck. Okay. I love this. I love this. I love this, and I'll tell you why I love this, because this is so fucking different from what I was.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
You said specifically. You said this came into play so early on in the movie, it fell into your lap. The thing that I got literally with like
Right.
within the first couple shots.
And I'm so curious to hear what you have, because I wonder how compatible they are.
Okay, no, keep so
Yeah,
okay.
we'll get it. So and then I make reference to the fact that when Jess, who is not on the swim team, whose role is not as an athlete, he is a nerd. He falls into the pool by accident.
Oh my god.
And the coach yells, "Somebody get that kid out of my pool."
Fuck.
And I wrote, the nature of elitism is inherently selfish and discriminatory.
It's literal fucking gatekeeping. It's not somebody save that kid. It's somebody get him out of
somebody
my pool.
get that kid out of my pool. Exactly. It is not. He is not
there's
concerned.
a possessiveness.
He is not concerned about how he got there. He is not concerned about the fact that he is there at all. He is not concerned about the fact that he is in danger by being in there. He is concerned about the fact that he is not supposed to be there because it is not his place to be. The entire movie, all of the characters constantly reinforce that, and you're gonna get shades of this kind of thing with Disney Channel movies anyway, because they're very clean, they're very conservative normally, at least very early on. They're very sort of like, nerds, jocks, geeks. Nerds and geeks are the same thing in Disney Channel.
Geeks, jocks,
nerds, jocks, science kids. All that's
nerd again. Good try. But that's nerd again.
That in and of itself, I think, is painting a picture of what I'm talking about. Everything is very much rigid in societal roles, but this movie in particular, I swear, almost every exchange that these characters have with one another, if it is two characters who occupy a different space in societal standing, they will make reference to the fact that neither of them belong anywhere else except for where they are. We mentioned the fact that Jess repeatedly over the course of the movie reinforces the fact that he is a nerd. He should be beat up. It is his job to be picked on because he is a nerd and that is what he knows.
Okay, I'm starting to recount. Okay, first of all, one thing before Jess falls into the pool, another predetermined thing is, and something that's challenged later on in the movie is Sean getting the gold medal, being the gold medalist. He's like, hey, I'm always gonna get the gold. You always look good at silver. Later on, when it's challenged and he gets silver and Cody gets gold, this horribly upsets his worldview. I'm starting to see it. Also, regarding the the Jess falling into the pool, and with the swim coach saying get him out of my pool, it's almost like all of the adults in the movie have inherently internalized. They have learned it because they and what I like about that is because it's a coming of age film. It's coming, like, it's these young characters coming to learn that their lives are not in their own control.
I would argue. Yes, okay. It is a coming of age in the sense that they are coming to terms with their place, but it is, I would argue so strongly that it is not coming of age in the traditional sense, and I'll get to that. So a lot of my ideas are a little bit more disparate as we go on until we sort of reach the end, and it all comes into focus again. So, for example, the you mentioned the adults have seemed like they have sort of become conditioned to this lifestyle. And I noted that early on, when it is the night of Cody's birthday, it's after his party, he's in bed, his parents are talking to him. They tell him, starting now, your whole life is different. And I took note of that because it's curious that it's curious, in a world of determinism, why would they encourage the sentiment of change? Or is it simply they mean different in the sense that he must now fully conform to his predestination now that he has reached an age of accountability? And then I note that the latter is looking more likely, given afterwards we start to see the dream sequence of him, seeing his mother, seeing his destination.
May I say, like, sort of an idea that I might have on that? It seems to me your life is going to be different, not because it's going to take a different course, but rather where we are as adults controlling your life, you being a child, us being you being in our care. Your life was determined because of us. It is going to be different because as an adult, you're now going to recognize that your life is no longer in the control of us. It's in the control of the universe, which has just as much of a plan for you as we do.
Right. That's good. I like that. And throughout my list, I mentioned that the characters constantly reinforce this, and I wanted to prove that really quickly before I continue, I wanna read off just some of the individual lines I noted of these characters reinforcing the idea of set roles.
Okay.
Lines such as "Why wouldn't I be fine?" Lines such as "Who eats s'mores? S'mores are for kids. He's not one of us. How does that fit into my job description? I finally get a friend and he turns into a fish. This is so typical."
Fuck.
I also want to note the electricity powers because
Okay.
I believe the electricity powers are their own form of symbolism. This is the one of the most grasping at straws notes I made in this entire thing. But
our show is called Mount Molehill. Go.
Yeah,
for
that's the point. Electricity. He starts to develop electricity powers, and it doesn't manifest as like electro sort of Cole from Infamous style, like shooty electricity powers. It's very much it's similar to static electricity.
Yeah,
static
yeah.
being a term for a state of unmoving, a state of no change, a state of settlement, predetermination.
Okay, I love that, and I'll tell you why. Is because I specifically said I felt like I was very conspiracy theorist. That is the most conspiracy theorist bullshit I've ever heard, and I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
I literally, I wanted to get into this mindset. I did like creative exercises before watching this movie because I wanted to see where they're putting these ideas. Later in the movie, when they start to investigate what's wrong with Cody, he mentions the idea of growing a tail before even the subject of mermaids comes up. The conformity to his destination is subconscious.
Right.
He
seems predetermined to conform to this idea.
Okay, so I'm gonna speed through my notes a little bit here. I noted that it's strange how in the context of him tricking his parents into thinking that he's going to be staying home when he sneaks out. I noted that it's strange how in this context what is normally an act of rebellion is in the larger narrative simply pulling him further into falling in line with his predestined change of community and physicality. He cannot resist the pull of his destiny. I said Sam sucks.
That's true.
I noted the thing about becoming a fish really sucks. Okay, the climax of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is where a lot of this comes into play because I noted throughout the movie there's this glaring sort of hole in my theory that the movie is about it is not approving of change and development because throughout the movie Cody is developing a friendship with Jess, and Jess in particular, this is where I want to place the focus. Jess is learning how to swim. That is he is breaking free of his social status by learning how to swim. Cody is teaching him how to swim, how to do anything but be a geek-ass nerd.
Can I say I feel like this movie is just as much about Jess as it is Cody.
Yeah. I would say it is more about Jess.
Really?
And well, that can be argued.
It's a movie about Jess from the perspective of Cody.
Jess exhibits most of the change in this movie. Because he learns he is learning how to swim. And he is
the most driving thing within the plot, aside from the mermaid powers.
And I noted in the climax, and this is where I started to become worried about my perspective. I was thinking I was gonna have to watch it again and find something new because I was like, no, there's very clearly an arc where Jess is learning to swim. He is overcoming his fear of the water.
Mm-hmm.
And I've started writing. It is strange how in this context. This movie seems to have a weird sort of non-committal dual example nature to the way it portrays defiance or separation from your predetermined roles. The primary, and then I could not finish what I was writing. I stopped and I said, oh, never mind, because what is Jess's reward for breaking from his role, breaking through his fear of water, and trying to save the mermaid mother by swimming? He almost dies. He is punished. He is punished for his own breaking through of the mold by nearly drowning. The only thing that saves him is the grace of Cody conforming to his own role as a mermaid.
Fuck.
That he lives.
I want to add something, but fuck though.
Yeah.
Fuck.
The only case of someone doing anything that challenges what they have been predestined to do or what the plot is driving them towards is punished. Cosmically, narratively, he nearly dies, and it is only through further conformity that he is saved because Cody gives up. Cody gives up.
One of the first thing, I think literally the first line he says is immediately back in line with that, which is Sam was giving him CPR, and he says, "Was that just your girlfriend kissing me?" And then he says like some shit about like how he's a nerd and that's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's like he's immediately
constant.
punished, and then he recognizes, all right, no more trying.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what everybody has to do in this movie. Nobody makes a choice, aside from Jess, who's punished for it. Aside from Jess, nobody makes a choice that goes against what the plot wants them to do and what their societal role requires of them.
And I think that's
swear
really
to you, it does not happen.
No, and yeah, no, you're 100% right, and I think that's 100% exhibited because usually with these kind of movies, it's like, oh, I want to be on the swim team, but like I have to do this other thing, or like my passions lie elsewhere. No, his passions are 100% in line with what he goes. He literally becomes a fish that helps with his passion, and I think it's exhibited nowhere better than at the very end where he literally gives up on his life to go and live with the mermaids.
Yes. I myself wrote. Of course, Cody has no choice in how he reconciles his true nature. He just has to go. Nature itself has locked him into his destiny. And at a point, he stops. He doesn't seem reluctant in the slightest. He seems very enthused to go be a mermaid.
Yeah. No,
he has no like sort of hesitation about leaving his parents. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the mom, I note in that scene, seems to be taking this particularly hard, which makes sense given she begins the movie with the notion of breaking free of her own destiny, being indentured to the cycle of capitalism and class discrepancy, and we see how that dream dies in the 13 years of Cody growing with them.
And also, I just realized something. So she was reluctant up until the mermaid, or the mermom specifically, like telepathically tells her like it'll be fine. Which, as we talked about, she's literally animal. She is nature. The mermom is nature. Nature convinces her that Cody needs to be within his own nature.
Yes, the dream of Cody himself has died in her eyes. Cody was never hers to begin with, and neither was her own freedom. And they keep talking about how Cody will be back, but like I noted before, we never see that happen. And they say it with a strange sort of melancholy, like they don't even believe it.
No, and the movie, like, I like to believe that he just leaves and doesn't come back. Yeah. I think that's what happens.
I genuinely think that is what happens. Now, the last thing I want to, because this also, oh my God, I've been waiting for this the whole time. I wanna point out to you this last bit of symbolism, because thus far everything it's adding up, but there's not that one clear sign of symbolism that shows that this is real, that this is within this movie, this spirit. I will tell you the smoking gun.
Okay. After this break.
Yeah, after this break. Who is the only character who is ridiculed more than Jess? The only other character who breaks free from societal norms. Big John.
Big John
is ridiculed because of what he represents. And what he represents is displayed no more clearly than the vehicle he drives. The vehicle of his spirit, of his symbolism.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I'm going to mention it too. The boat he drives.
Is the name of Big John's boat?
Big John's boat is called Defiance.
Exactly. I wrote down, the man who sails the ship of Defiance is seen as a lunatic in this world of predeterminism.
Oh my God! God!
I will leave you with this final write-up that I did. This is sort of my thesis, in a way.
Okay.
This is not a coming-of-age story, nor is it a happy ending. This tale is legitimately so harrowing No one actually grows from their experience. The only person who experiences any sort of arc is Jess, who is actively punished by the narrative for stepping out of his comfort zone until he is showed mercy by a display of role acceptance from Cody. I guess you could argue that Cody grows for having given Jess a chance, but that plotline takes such a backseat to the rest of the film that it hardly feels like an intentional development and more just a means to an end to meet the true theme of this movie. Your role, your future, and your place in society are all entirely out of your control. Progress and overcoming adversity are illusions that only exist relative to the view from inside our own confinement. We grow tired of coming in second place in our own little pool, so we fight and swim and race towards something better. When we reach the apex of accomplishment, when we finally break past the mold of second best, it is only a matter of time before the world comes calling to pull us into another pool, one where we stand on lower ground than we've ever stood, where we know nothing and understand nothing. In the 13th year, Cody is seen many times seeking to satisfy a growing and consistent thirst, but no fountain and no glass of his own will meet the need. The only way to dull the sensation is to eventually accept the tide and drown it in an all-enveloping blanket of water, or in a metaphorical sense, blissful and willing conformity. That is the 13th year.
Fuck. That is the 13th year, isn't it?
And that's what I got.
God damn, Penny Parker. Holy shit.
I am telling you.
Mine feels lame now. Mine feels like a big fucking weenie fest, because that's like some shit.
I assure
you
it's not.
Some full shit.
I assure you it's not. I think these can live in harmony. I went into this movie so scared I was not going to find anything. Legitimately, I'm not good at this kind of thing. The fact that I got this much should tell you how blatant it is within the text of this movie. It is constantly reinforced. We talked about it even before going into our analysis. The characters constantly, without fail, talk about their roles to each other.
This movie is bad, but it's not bad because it's inconsistent. The badness is literally just because of like the quality of the movie itself. Yes, but like in terms of like thematic consistency and things like that, and plot construction, it is very consistent. It is nothing if not consistent.
It is consistent in what it believes the whole way through.
Let me tell you what I believe about this movie.
Of course, go for it.
So the 13th year is a Jesus allegory, because of a lot of different reasons. Let's start out. Let's assume. Let's go for a second. Bear with me, and let's assume that this movie, it's not going to be a 1-to-1 retelling of, let's say, the Bible. Right. It's not. It is instead an amalgamation of biblical references and theological imagery, which coalesces into what I believe to be a pretty cohesive and pretty, I would say, nebulous representation of a lot of biblical stories, which I'm hoping that in some point during my analysis and my breakdown, it will become clearer to you, the audience, and myself as well. So let's start at the very beginning with the very obvious nod to Moses being floated down the Nile River. Yeah, with the mother abandoning the child to be adopted by a surrogate family.
The bundled baby is left in a drifting container.
A swaddled child. And left in a drifting container, quite literally. The boat that the Griffin parents are aboard when they adopt Moses. Now, the Moses thread, this is, like I said, some of these are very much connected on a corkboard via red yarn. You're gonna have to bear with me and understand that some of these plot threads, as I watched this movie 2 hours ago. Okay, you're with me. 2 hours ago, I finished this movie. Here's where I am at with it. First of all, I want to talk about Big John's hat, not because it has anything to do with what I'm talking about, but it did say "Home is where the fish are," and I think that's really great.
Did it? I didn't notice.
Yeah, no, he's in where he sees the with the mermom, which by the way is God. Right. Obviously. But he's wearing a red hat, which I don't trust a white man wearing a red hat. I don't know why. Let's not think about that.
I can't think of any reason why.
Yeah, but he's wearing a hat that says "Home is where the fish are," and I just like that a lot, and I hope to one day own that kind of hat. But I digress. So we're gonna immediately go into one of the first things that we see, which is that the father of the character which was adopted. Now these parents, the Griffin parents, they did not birth this child, or rather they did not conceive of this child through what's the something conception.
Faithful.
Yeah. They shut up. They did not conceive this child. Instead, the child was given to them.
Right.
And in a way, the father, Dave Coulier, he is so okay, hang on. I'm getting ahead of myself.
You're okay.
Cody is the son of a poor man with an unsatisfied wife. That in and of itself is biblical. There's,
right.
I believe, a handful of biblical stories with that kind of thing. One of the first thing that we see Dave Coulier doing is handiwork. This goes into Jesus's father. He's the son of a carpenter. He's the son of a carpenter of Nazareth. Yes, Joseph. Joseph is a carpenter, and you can see that Cody is also he's doing like handiwork on the tiki too. Now, let's get into some of the imagery. So, first of all, the name Griffin. Are you familiar with? So I'm sure you're familiar with griffins, the animal.
Yeah, but I mean, just for the sake of podcast, dive in.
So, griffins are in medieval heraldry. They are a sign of divine power. Specifically in Christianity, they are guardians. They are divine. They are holy. So, right off the bat, with the last name Griffin, we have already set up the main character to be theologically holy. And they
are Cody's legal guardians.
Yes. Additionally, Cody himself bearing the name is in and of itself divinity, like a sort of a passed down divinity.
Right.
Also, there are several instances of angelic imagery in this movie. Not just like not in the way you'd think. There are literally angels all over this movie. There is an angel on the trophy that they get from the swim meet. There is an angel hanging in the Griffin's household. I believe there is an angel in the warehouse of Big John. So there are even from childhood, he has had angels watching over him. Now, are you familiar with the apostles? Do you know how many apostles there were?
Yes, there were 12 of them.
Yes, there were 12 apostles. However, there is one other person which is considered the 13th apostle. Do you know who this is?
Lazarus.
No. Hey, Chase from the future here. I got something wrong, but I corrected it later on in the episode. So don't go saying, "Oh, Chase is an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about." I was just an idiot before, but then I did know what I was talking about. So it corrects itself. Don't worry. Judas is considered.
Wasn't Judas one of the original 12?
No, I believe he's largely considered the 13th apostle.
Right.
Wrong. So Judas is the betrayer of Christ. And I don't remember what he did, but I know that he was. Again, I've had 2 hours to prepare. And here's the part where the imagery starts to sort of become a little bit all over the place. This is the real difficulty, because so what I have here, my paper it has a bunch of scratches with a lot of red marker written all over it. We can just go to more imagery. For example, the scales representing leperism, which of course is biblical.
Right.
Angel imagery all over the house. There's allusions to heaven in the dream. If you recall, within the dream itself,
right.
when the character Cody is going to this the Mermom, which is, I believe, God, you can see there is some divine light behind them. Not only that, but when she reaches out to touch him, her hands are glowing with holy light.
Right.
I wrote down specifically, "Mother is God. Where the fuck is the light coming from?"
Yeah.
That just makes sense. Jesus did not start preaching and sort of prophesying until he was 30 years old, I believe 2 years before he was killed.
There was there were instances of him sort of speaking to other members of his community as early as, I want to say, 12. But he did not do many of his like miracles and other works until he was well into his years, like very soon before he was crucified.
Yes. Another thing. Do you remember how people identified Jesus as a resurrected human being? It was his hands.
His palms, yes.
His palms, his hands.
The nail marks.
Yes. How frequently are we seeing Cody showing people that he's changing through his palms?
The scene with all the family looking at their hands. Yeah. Investigating them.
Yes. You're starting to see it.
There is so much palm imagery.
Yes. Okay. Another thing. There are a handful of biblical names. Sam is a biblical name. John is a biblical name. There are the number 8. The number 8, which is used,
which is one of the first things you see. The camera pans over a buoy. With
it pans over to a buoy with the number 8 on it,
and it's like close in frame. It's not in the background. It focuses on this number.
It is the buoy itself is an important representation because what it represents is the connection between Cody and God. The number 8 represents. In Christianity, specifically, by itself, it represents rebirth. And here, let me actually pull it up. I have a bunch of tabs open.
Rebirth. Wow.
In Bible numerology, it denotes a new order or creation, a man's to be born again, resurrected from dead into eternal life. This is what the number 8 represents in numerology. Now, if we go to 888, in Christian numerology, the number 888 represents Jesus, or sometimes more specifically, Christ the Redeemer.
Right.
So the fact the buoy has an 8 on it. That's where he has
an 8 on it, and we see it multiple times. Every time. Oh my God! The space in which Cody communes with the god figure, his mermaid mother, it is centered around this buoy.
The buoy!
Which displays the number 8.
Yes!
I want you to know, Chase, I went into this saying I hoped our theories were compatible. I think they are.
I am so glad you think so.
For one reason. Do you mind if I get a little ahead? It's very quick.
Hang on.
Okay. Essentially, I just wanted to say, there's this very famous and rather beautiful point in the story of Jesus where Jesus shows vulnerability and he shows humanity by literally praying to God and saying, I don't want to do this. I don't want to die. I do not want to be crucified. He says, let this cup pass from me.
This was in the Garden of Gethsemane. Yes.
Yeah. There is and we see not too long before Cody finally resigns his own will to the will of his destination to become a mermaid and further live and commune with his mother. We see them commune together around this number 8, this number 8 buoy, and he does not say it in such certain terms, but it's about at the peak of his reluctance towards his transformation, almost as if he is meeting with his mother to ask one final time before accepting his role, let this cup pass from me. I do not want this for me. And when it doesn't, he never resists again.
No, never, ever. Okay.
Please continue.
A couple things. There are a couple of different Sam is Mary Magdalene. I feel like that's obvious. So when
I don't know why that got me. Sam is Mary Magdalene. I think that's obvious. God.
So yeah, no. When Cody asks her to meet her at the cove, this is representative of what? It is representative of Mary Magdalene going to meet. Are going to discover Jesus's tomb empty, the tomb of Christ empty. Fucking not Cody. Cody obviously represents Jesus, also kind of Moses, whatever. It's a little bit blurry. Jess represents both Judas and Lazarus. Lazarus, of course, being, yes, because the story of Lazarus revolves specifically around a man who was brought back to life by Jesus's hand. Yes, and this at this point, Lazarus becomes a disciple of the apostles, and I feel like that sort of resignation kind of ties back into what you're talking, because after he dies, after he's punished, he resigns. He's like, okay, Cody, I recognize my role as an accessory to your life.
Yes, I did not mention that. I meant to bring this up. So I talk about how Jess is cosmically punished for trying to break free of his societal role as a nerd who cannot swim. And that would be different if later, in like the epilogue per se of the movie, like the final closing, we see him just having fun swimming. We never see him swim again. That's the last time he tries.
Yeah, no. He tries once and he is punished for it, and then that's it. Another thing, also, I said Jess was Judas. That was that was my beta theory. My later theory was that Big John is actually Judas.
Interesting.
And the reason is he violates not one but several commandments, which is you shall have no other gods before me. You shall not take the name of the Lord in vain. You shall not commit adultery. Where's his wife?
Where is his wife? Oh my God.
You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor, and you shall not covet. The boat he drives is called the Defiance.
Oh my God.
He is Judas. Big John is Judas, guaranteed. What I think he represents specifically is if we're getting into like the themes, I think he represents Christians who do not believe, who only believe in God, or rather people who are desperately searching for proof and don't just have faith,
right?
In defiance of God, who asks faith specifically of people. This is in defiance of God's wishes.
I'll see it and then believe it mentality.
Yeah. A couple other things. Sean, he is Pontius Pilate, the overseer, or like the emperor of, or not the emperor, but the I believe the, oh God, what's the name? The sort of ruler of I don't remember if it was Israel in its entirety, but like the guy who oversaw Jesus' crucifixion.
I believe it was Rome. Because it was the Roman soldiers who Judas betrayed Jesus to.
Yes. So Sean is Pontius Pilate, who kind of oversees Christ's crucifixion.
Right.
Another thing, he is the commander of nature. In one scene, we very, very explicitly see him commanding a fish, and the fish jumps out of its tank, absolutely defying its own nature.
Right, one of Jesus's early miracles.
Bending, when he sees a fish tank. His gracefulness through water represents him walking upon water as if it's effortless for him.
Right.
His ability to use electricity. This is incredibly this to me alludes to specifically the punishment that God sort of made happen after the crucifixion of Jesus. People were being smitten left and right. I feel like it's sort of murky, but I feel like the swim meet, the state finals, that represented the crucifixion, because that's where it's found out. That's where a sort of earthquake happens, which is represented through the electric shock, which takes out the scoreboard.
Right.
And it's later used. It's seen as a holy power later to bring Lazarus, or what's his name, Jess, back from the dead.
And before the state finals, everyone who is close to Cody, everyone who cares for Cody, everyone who knows that Cody does not want this transformation for him is asking him not to go. They are saying, Cody, you don't have to do this. Stay away from the water. He says, I will tomorrow. Yeah, after my work is done. He says he has a responsibility to his state.
Yes. You know what? I bet the swim meet took place on a Saturday. I will rest on the I will rest tomorrow on the Sabbath.
Yes.
Fuck.
Oh my God.
There is one line. I didn't specifically write down a couple of lines, or like lines like you did, but I did write down one, which is Griffin is uncatchable. It represents the inability for the Romans to, I guess, sort of suppress Christ's power or magnificence. And what are you gasping about? What are you gasping? What?
Chase.
What?
I'm sorry, my brain just went off in a direction, and I want to pitch an amendment to one of your character assignments here.
Okay, what's
because
up?
I think you have the right idea, but I think we're looking in the wrong place.
What's that?
I thought of the crucifixion.
Uh-huh.
I thought of the scenario, and I thought of the apostles.
Mhm.
And I noticed you have not made any mention of Peter,
Peter, okay.
who famously denied Christ 3 times at his crucifixion. And I thought, who in this movie denies Cody thrice? Sam.
Oh my god.
Sam
Oh my
denies
god.
Sam is not Mary Magdalene. Sam is Peter, who
Well,
denies Cody 3 times. First, when they meet at the beach and Cody is hiding his fins under the sand, and she says, "You know, you've been a real case lately, Cody," and she walks away. The second time, after the swim meet, when she faints in his house, they try to explain what's going on. She says, "No, I can't be here right now." And the third time, when Cody confronts Sean after the swim meet, she is standing there and says nothing to defend him or his name. 3
Fuck.
times he is denied by
Thrice.
Sam.
It will, okay, it can be both. It can be both Mary
Right.
Magdalene and Peter, specifically because if you recall, there's a couple, there's some overlapping imagery, there's some overlapping characters. It's sort of like a condensed retelling of the Bible a little bit, or at least the book of Mark.
Right.
Oh, excuse
It's
me.
also a little out of order, but you know,
Well, I mean, what are you gonna do?
we forgive.
And so the also one more thing which I thought was kind of interesting was the so we all know that Cody is sort of supposed to represent Jesus, and Jesus is a representation of God. As you know, we are all made in God's image. And one thing specifically that Jess says to Cody when they're first talking about it, they're first talking about how amphibious he's becoming, is that we all look like frogs in the womb. We are all made in God's image. It's all there. It's all there.
He does.
He does. He says that. Oh fuck. So yeah, that's
Right.
There you go.
Because Jesus did not start as like a full-fledged like representation of God and God's power. Jesus was born as a man.
Mm-hmm.
And,
exactly.
And over time developed the sense of purpose to start displaying his power and his miracles. And that is what happens with Cody. He begins as a man and grows into a more complete representation of the Godhead, of his mermaid mother.
Fuck. In the end, Jesus accepts his fate and returns to heaven.
Right.
With God.
Yeah. And he says, "I will come back."
He says, "I will come back."
He says, "I will come back
Yes!
for you."
Exactly. He says, "We will all meet again." Fuck. It's all there. Fuck. It's all there, and Dave
Chase.
Coulier is watching the whole time.
I'm losing my mind.
I know, me too. Oh, oh, well, God.
Oh my God. I did not think we would get this out of the 13th year. I suggested this because I remembered this movie watching it as a kid, and it didn't seem particularly like something we would want to cover later as like an audience pool. I was just like, hey, you know what? We'll just start here, see what we can get out of it.
Oh, there's no way this episode isn't going to see the light of day. There's
I'd be upset. We have to. This is such This is such a strong start. This represents everything we are trying to do with the show, and I don't understand how it lined up in this way.
Yeah. Okay, let's take like a final 10 minutes to sort of wrap it all up into a nice bow and sort of find the through line between our two. It sounds like you already have an idea of how that's going to work.
I mean, essentially that's there's I don't have much opinion about how the philosophy of fatalism and defeatism and theological determinism play into the role of the story of Jesus. But there is an interesting parallel there that, Jesus himself understands that his role to play is to be sacrificed for the sins of humanity. And
there's a reluctance to accepting
there is a reluctance. There's a moment of vulnerability where he says, I do not want to do this. If there is any way I cannot do this, please let me do that. Let me do anything else. And he knows. He knows, and he resigns himself to the fact that this is what he must do. This is why he is there. The only reason he was born was to fulfill this purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I don't. That's the thing, right? Is that I don't think this movie has any real statement or message to give about either of these. Except just that they are there.
If we're talking about what the author's trying to say, they don't fucking say anything. It's a movie about a story, and the story ends, and it didn't fucking mean anything.
Yeah,
we are finding the meaning. We are finding what it means.
But, yeah,
this isn't the death of the author. We're going to the author's house and beating them to death with a rock.
Right.
This is.
But I just mean in the sense that we are working under this idea that nothing can be devoid of meaning simply by virtue of it being written by a human who believes something. And all of this to say, I do not know what the beliefs of this crew, I don't know what they are aligned with these philosophies and these stories. I just believe that they think they exist, like all this movie says when it comes to its philosophy is that this is the way things are.
Mm-hmm.
It does not make any sort of you know what? I think that's bullshit because I think it does make an argument that this is the way things should be because we think of Jess who tried to break free from that and was punished. Mm-hmm. So does this movie believe that we should just simply conform to the will of our placement like we are here for one specific reason, and anything to fight against that predestined sense of place is folly and punishable.
I'd like to read a Bible verse if that's okay.
Go for it.
In Acts 2:23. This man, delivered over by the predetermined plan and foreknowledge of God, you nailed to a cross by the hand of godless men and put him to death. Acts 4:28, to do whatever your hand and your purpose is, predestined to occur. It's over. It's over.
That's it.
We figured it out. Also, I would like to add a little addendum. Judas was not the 13th apostle, but with the 12 apostles and Jesus, you'd still get 13, so it's still
yes. Works. Yeah. I thought so.
Well, Penny.
Wow.
Huh.
Is there anything I missed here?
I don't know.
I cannot stand how the movie ends on the sentiment of I finally get a friend and he turns into a fish. This is so typical.
It is so it is
another parallel with the Jesus story.
Uh-huh.
Cody makes friends with the detested as Jesus did. The apostles used to be tax collectors and prostitutes and like people who society rejected and chose to follow Jesus because of what? Because of what he offered them. He offered them salvation as Cody offered Jess salvation from his role. He offered to teach him to swim.
Yes! It all comes together. Fuck. I want to do this more.
Me
I want
too.
to do this again.
Hey, tune in next time.
Tune in next time. Well, we're gonna do this again because fuck, we can't not at this point.
This is so much. It's so fun. I'm losing my mind. I didn't believe it until I saw it, Chase. I didn't believe it until I saw it.
There is. Well, you know what, Penny? You gotta have faith. I'm gonna leave you with Lamentations 2:17.
Okay.
The Lord has done what he purposed. He has accomplished his word, which he commanded from days of old. He has thrown down without sparing, and he has caused the enemy to rejoice over you. He has exalted the might of your adversaries. Thank you, everybody, for listening to Mount Molehill. This isn't a religious podcast,
It's
I
not,
should say.
Yeah, but it is a podcast where we make something out of nothing.
Tune in next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.